Hi guys, it's Cara here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is gonna be my top 10 plants in May. I have brought up some pretty big plants that I usually don't really move in my grow tent, so you will have the joy of seeing those for the first time in ages. Meet my Beast of Gloriosum. Me for reference if you want it. I don't know what to do with this plant, honestly. So there are currently two plants in this. It's kind of self-watering pot because Gloriosum really appreciates the extra water. So the other plant is actually really small, and I think they are only like those 3 leaves and one more. It doesn't bring much to the overall foliage yet. This is the latest leaf of the Gloriosum that I've imported from Indonesia. This is the previous one, which is slightly bigger, I think, and it's already kind of getting ready to push out a new leaf here, which is already looking over the pot. I'm really thinking of propagating it. I want to make at least 3 cuttings or 4 cuttings with 1 leaf and then restart the plant. Basically, I'm planning to keep the top cutting and plant it back in the same pot, even though with the length of the petioles it does not have much room to grow where it's currently situated in my grow tent. So if it continues getting bigger, it might have to go out. Now, moving this beast out, the next plant is Monstera Escalato. This girl has recently gotten a repot. This is the plant that I have grown from a wet stick. She was recently given a proper moss ball just because I want her to climb and reach that full maturity, which the latest leaf has really surprised me. I mean, it's just beautiful. It has many primary and secondary fenestrations, and those little holes I just adore. So I'm really hoping that she is gonna speed up with growth because she was kind of staying stagnant, which I think is also the reason because she was really in need of a repot. There she has started growing some aerial roots here, which is great. The next plant that I want to show you is yet another really huge plant. Here is my Anthurium VGI, which is currently holding 7 leaves, which I think is a lot for Anthurium because my queens usually just hold like 2 or 3, but this guy, he's like, oh no, I will be the #1. So he's recently pushed this beautiful shiny new leaf, which has a lot of ribs, as you can see. I'm not entirely sure about the form, however, I do suspect that it is a narrow one. Anyhow, if it's not like very narrow that you see, it's a really nice form because some VGIs and their hybrids can be kinda wonky looking, but this one is... So this leaf actually has semi-closed sinus, which VGIs tend to do, and as mentioned, the petiole is how long. I can show you the roots for an instance. I think it will be in need of a repot. So I've had it in this pot for a very long time because I've repotted, I think, somewhat. It's gonna be a year, I think, but he loves it. He absolutely adores. It's a very airy media and I don't worry him much, just because I have figured out he kind of appreciates to dry out in between. I've already lowered my top shelves where I keep VGI and 2 queens, and I will have to lower it even more just because the top of the leaf is kind of reaching the top of my grow tent, so we are having a little bit of a situation here. The next plant that I want to talk about is Anthurium VGI. We do have a royal pair here. So this is my queenie, which is not so small anymore. So this is the plant that I have grown from a wet stick, a rotting wet stick, just because the plant that I got cold damage and she just was not happy. She has recently been really picking up the size. I think this was the 2nd leaf that she's ever grown. It's kind of yellowing and it's on its way out. She probably also needs some fertilizer because I've been slacking recently. Anyhow, the new leaf got amazing lobes, which this particular queen had before I got her, and then she froze to a chunk. So she is picking up the piece. She is also extremely dark and narrow, and I just love the pattern that he has. Yep, I need a repot. Oh look, there's a fuzzy root coming out of here. Next one is a plant that I've grown from a seedling, and I've also featured it in my poppy collection. So this is a mix of Anthurium crystallinum and a possible poppy hybrid, which was the mother plant. The mother plant looked a lot like what we are seeing here. I did have other seedlings, but none really ended up looking like that. They had way more venation and it was thicker. I have kept one and it looks like a really nice crystallinum, but if you compare the two, they kind of just... I wouldn't place them in the same batch of seeds, if that makes sense. Anyhow, this plant has amazing blue sheen on the new leaves. It's still not done growing yet just because it's still soft and I have yet to water it. This is the previous leaves, so it has definitely sized up. And here is the root situation. This is one of the plants that I kind of keep in the bottom of my grow tent and I forget to water it and he appreciates it. Next one, we are staying on the Anthurium train. Anthurium VGI silver form. Somebody commented on my Instagram if this is a regular silver form just because it has a really thick venation, and it does. This is the reason why I love it, and it's also bow tie and very dark. I don't know, I mean, you can classify it as a silver stripe, I don't know. It has finally grown a nice leaf, which I have damaged. He's been dealing with a little bit of crispness here and there, which you can see it's totally fine. I think this is one of the leaves that I've got it with. It has kind of started pushing out smaller leaves, but the latest one is really nice. It's bigger than the previous one and it has very thick venation. It's still very dark, which is really nice, and I think it's getting ready to slowly push out a new one just because the caterpillar is getting thicker. And I've also been kind of underwatering this one and it does have a lot of nice roots, so they don't really mind it that much in my experience. Yet another Anthurium. So this is Anthurium papillilaminum crossed with Cara Blacky. I've mentioned it in my water propagation video and it has grown even more roots and they have started branching out, so it's really time for me to put it in a moss. I will probably do that today. But what I want to talk about is it's making a new leaf, which is a juicy red in color. It's kind of like a really dark red wine color, if that makes sense. And you can see it has like the prominent Cara sinus, so it's gonna end up looking like this. It's not gonna be as big, probably just because it's still in water and the petiole does not seem really thicker, but I'm just happy that it's growing a new leaf. And I'm seriously considering propagating it just because why not? So the first hybrids that I've made with my friend Jean, those are Anthurium Forgetty X Crystal was the mother plant, and then we've processed with my crystal that I've sold and no longer own. And these baby boys are growing their second leaves and I think they are actually quite big for their size. We did have some setbacks with a few of the seeds which have rotted. So I did end up losing quite many of the seeds and I really need to move them into their own containers just because they're getting so pushy in here. Now we're done with Anthuriums. Now I'm gonna insert a clip of my Easter cactus, which was gorgeous a week ago and now it looks like a granny. Welcome to my mama Easter cactus. She is an absolute beast. So I've had her for many years now and she has actively bloomed every one of them. I think the blooms this year are especially a lot. Some of them have already started to die off, but there are still some that are opening and developing, and she has fallen down the shelf many times but continues to surprise me. Older parts have kind of turned woodenish and they get kind of like stiff just to support all that, but isn't she a beauty? This is really something that I look forward to whenever this spring comes, just because I know she's gonna bloom every year and she requires lowest maintenance ever. So I really wanted to show her now that she is kind of in full bloom, just because it's gonna start going downward. And the last plant, which I've not really shown much or any, is Olearum Dombrusi, I believe it's how it's pronounced. This is the green version or form, whatever you want to call it, because you do have ones that have splashes on the leaves. This one doesn't, so it's purely green. And I love this just because they kind of remind me of a little foxy face, and the ears are so prominent and so nice. This, I think, is the newest leaf. There are two bulbs. I think they are somewhat in bulb form. So this is one plant and this is the other. Those are really thirsty and they continuously flower. I've just picked out 3 old flowers that have dried today. If you want to see more flowers and leaves, definitely get those. So this is it for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed. If you did, please give it a like and hit that notification button, and I'll see you next time. Bye!